Sunday. The church bells are ringing. And I'm not there. Oops. Hi everyone, and welcome to Make Things Club, a club for people who like to make things. My name is Sarah. I am the host of this podcast. It is Sunday, April 17th, and I didn't podcast last week. Sorry. I'll get into that later, but I just wanted to say, before I go into all other details of random other things that I want to talk about today, a very, very large, warm, and fuzzy thank you to everyone. There's been consistent subscribers over the last couple weeks. At the time of this podcast, I'm up to 177, so I'm almost up to 200, which is 176 more than I was expecting. So thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you for being in touch with me. Thanks for messaging me on Instagram. It's so fun getting to know a whole bunch of people that I would not have known otherwise had I not done this. So thank you so much for validating this crazy idea that I had to just talk to myself and then put it up on the internet. It's nice to know that I'm not just talking to myself. I'm talking to tons of other people that I wasn't expecting. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. When I was editing the last episode, not only was I just like, man, this is hella negative, I was also very much like, way to not thank anybody. So I've been thinking about that a lot over the last 2 weeks, and I really just want to say how grateful I am, and thank you so much for everyone who's reached out, either on Instagram or Ravelry, or even here on YouTube. I really appreciate it, and I'm so glad that you guys are spending a little bit of your time with me. Yeah, my name is Sarah. You can find me on the internet pretty much anywhere as Loose Pages, so that includes Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram, Periscope, even though I'm not using it, Snapchat, even though I don't understand what it is. I think I've reached that part in my life journey where I just don't understand social media very much anymore. And it's funny because I work with kids, so I really should be on top of it just so that I know what they're doing. But who's got time for that? I'm pretty active on Instagram. You can find me there posting lots of stuff. So that's pretty much where I'm most active on the internet. You can also find me on Ravelry as Romperlust. We do have a podcast group going on for the Make Things Club podcast, so you can search it in the tabs and find any info there. So yeah, I'm easily traceable on the internet. I'm on it all the time. And yay. So I didn't podcast last week because honestly, knitting sucked. I had a really hard time getting anything going, feeling good about anything that I was working on. So I kind of figured, since my last episode was kind of complainy and not as good, I wouldn't do it to you 2 weeks in a row. So last week I took some time to just do nothing. Yeah, my partner was gone for a while. I hadn't seen much of him, so it was nice to just hang out with him for a while. And that was basically the extent of it. I will talk about my adventures in frogging later, but for the most part I just wanted to do a little bit of reminding. So we'll do some Cal talk, I guess. So just a reminder that I'm also taking part in the Canada Cal, which is hosted by the ladies at Two Tangled Skeins. This is a Cal that is supposed to feature and really put focus on Canadian projects, Canadian designers, Canadian yarns, anything Canadian. So that one runs July 1st to, I believe, September 30th. So it's a cast-on date of Canada Day, which is fitting. I'm already planning my knits. So I really want to do the Authenticity Shawl by Sylvia Bobilvia. So that is on my list. And I just got an email notification from Sweet Fiber saying that they've shipped my yarn for that. So I'm really scared. I'm really scared. If you can see in the background right there, That's the yarn that I bought at Knit City last year, and it's Sweet Fiber Canadian yarn. I don't know what the colorway is, and to me it looks red, but if you look at it right now, it looks red, but if you look at it up close, it could go for orange, and there's no colorway written on the tag. So when I was looking online for the yarn, I figured it was the flannel colorway, and I'm crossing my fingers that when it shows up at my doorstep that it's not orange, or that isn't orange, and I completely mistaked what I thought was the color. So this is probably like a really obvious thing that I'm freaking out about, because I shouldn't be scared. It should be like pretty clear that I ordered the right colorway. But this is what anxiety does. It ruins everything and you just overthink everything. So this is part of my anxiety where I'm just like, oh God, what if I missed the color? Like, I've been waiting for this for about a month now, because usually you have to pre-order because they sell out all the time. So this is a pre-order that I'm hoping I didn't mess up on. So it might seem silly, but like, this is a huge point of stress, and I will be quite excited when the yarn shows up and I can make sure it matches. So I am definitely holding off on the Authenticity shawl until then. I also want to make the Waiting for Rain Waiting for Rain shawl, which is also done by Sylvia Bobilvia. But I think because that's a fingering weight and there's a lot more garter, which I'm having issues with now, but there's garter and lace at its fingering weight, so that one might take a long time, and I really want to crank out as many knits as I can for this cow. So yeah, the Authenticity shawl is definitely one that I have queued for that. I also want to make a couple hats. Just little projects, because for me, as a shawl knitter, I get stuck in the slog of knitting shawls. And especially when you're not feeling it, or you're having a hard time concentrating or focusing on knits, it's really hard to work a really large project. Because especially for me, when I'm feeling down and I'm feeling frustrated at knitting that I can't get a pattern that I've worked a million times, or that I'm catching little mistakes that I've already counted my stitches and it worked out fine, like little things like that, I feel like smaller projects that are done faster can kind of boost that confidence. So that's kind of what I'm hoping to work on. Little confidence boosting projects and little things that are cute and fun. So I'm also, I don't know if I'll do anything official. I might just start a Ravelry thread in my podcast group. But it's April 17th, and usually where I'm from, we're from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, which, if I recall correctly, is one of the largest capital cities that is like the highest, is it latitude or longitude? But like the highest north. So where I am in Canada, compared to other cities, like a lot of the capital cities in Canada are really close to the US border. And if you're driving, it would take about maybe 5 to 6 hours to get to the border if you're just going south. So we're quite high up, and our weather is quite crazy sometimes. So because we have the Rocky Mountains to the west, which create their own weather systems most of the time and wreak havoc on the prairies where I'm from, we see a lot of weird late season snowstorms, blizzards. It snowed on my birthday before, which is towards the end of May. It snowed on camping trips in August. So right now, in April, we're used to expecting maybe, waking up to a foot of snow out of nowhere. But this week, it's going to be very warm, like summer temperatures. So I think they're forecasting for Tuesday 24 degrees Celsius, which is quite crazy for April, especially where I'm from. So that being said, this is like a huge story to get to where I'm going here. I'd like to start a Ravelry thread where we just like focus or like brag about our inappropriate knits for the season. I want to knit hats all of a sudden, which is kind of silly because I'm not going to wear them. It's really, really not hat season anymore. And the type of hats that I want are all pretty little, like pretty hats. They're not just toques or anything. So I don't want to wear them around a campfire in the summer when it's cold. So for the most part, I think that it would be really fun to just have a thread where we talk about and showcase, if we're knitting, just like things that are super inappropriate for the season. So whether that's a hat, a pair of mittens, a cowl that's just like really crazy, thick and bulky, I want to get a lot of those projects off my needle so that that yarn hasn't been sitting in stash for too long. So if that's something you might be interested in, just to be like, look, like, we don't have to stop knitting these things just because it's going to be really hot soon. So I was thinking of opening a thread. If that's something that you're into, join the group, and we can, even if it's just me posting by myself, I think it would be fun to just showcase some of the beautiful patterns that you can have for winter so that we're prepared 8 months from now. Besides that, so yeah, the Canada Cow, that starts in July. I'll be co-hosting along with, I think, a lot of other Canadian podcasters. It's going to be a huge group effort. That finished objects thread is going to be crazy. So plan your knits. I know I've been catching up with Marsha's podcast, Twist and Stitch. She's kind of doing her solo thing right now because Scylla's pretty busy. So Very Little is how she's known on the internet for the most part. But I was catching up with her podcast, and she's planning on knitting like a maple leaf shawl, and it looks nuts. So that's definitely something that would be an impressive knit. So I'm really excited to see what she's going to do for that. It's a gorgeous pattern. Check it out if you haven't seen it. And then that leads me to my Cal. So that's coming up soon, which is also something that's causing me anxiety because I can't decide on a pattern. But I'm going to be hosting my very first Cal, and it's the Knit City Sweater 2016 Cal. So our hashtag is #KC_Sweater2016. The idea of it is, if you're going to Knit City in October, let's knit a sweater. Let's knit a sweater and wear it. That's basically the entire premise. So you can pick any pattern, any designer. It doesn't matter if it's Canadian. It doesn't matter if it's a designer that's planning on being there. As long as it's a sweater pattern that is a full sweater, no lace boleros or like little tiny shrugs. We want something that covers your entire back. Pick a pattern. Cast on date is May 1st, although that's really flexible. I don't think I'll have my stuff together May 1st to cast on, but that's fine. If you want to prepare your swatch before May 1st, that's totally cool, as long as you're not casting on the entire sweater before then. I've had a couple questions regarding, not questions, but things that I've seen or heard on other podcasts about co-hosting. My sister-in-law Carla, who is one of the two hosts of the Relentless Knitting podcast, her and Emily were talking about co-hosting, and that's awesome. So I know that there's a couple other podcasters like Elise of My Two Tips and Shannon of Socksetera that have expressed interest in kind of co-hosting, and awesome. That's super awesome. Go for it. I'm really excited. The only thing is I don't know, because I'm a total noob at this and I'm just kind of flying by the seat of my pants here. I don't know the etiquette in like co-hosting Cals. Like, I opened a chatter thread for the Canada Cal on my page, but I'm assuming that like you can preferably post on their page. Like, I don't know if that's cool. I just did it anyways. So if you want to open a thread on your own page, that's fine. The FO thread will only be in my group because I think that's fair. Yeah, but if you want to join in, awesome, promote it. Let's get this going. I'm super excited. So, also with Relentless Knitting Company co-hosting with me, sponsoring. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. If you want to join in, just go for it. That's cool. But Carla has also volunteered to knit, to sew a project bag for the gifts. So that'll be happening. My other sister-in-law, Caitlin, has, I think, she briefly mentioned it yesterday. I didn't confirm with her or talk about it any further, but I think she was going to cross-stitch a prize. So we've got stuff coming in. If you'd like to donate something or you'd like to send a prize in, let me know. That would be awesome. I still haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do. The cast-off date, and this I might change. The official cast-off, like, end of Cal date was going to be September 30th. But September 30th is actually the day before Knit City where they usually have the lectures, or where they have, like, a big lecture and just, like, a gathering. So I might do something earlier. The point that I'm trying to make here is that if I end the Cal at the 15th, or, like, September 15th or so, it would be easier for me to get prizes together if I know who they're going to. So since I'm gonna already be in Vancouver by the 30th, I don't want to have to like figure out who won, get the prizes together and all of that kind of stuff the night of the main, like the Friday night lecture. So I'm changing the cast off date, or the finished date, to September 15th, so that I personally have enough time to pack, get things ready, and know who's going to get it, so that I can add in any kind of personal touches that I want to add in, and just basically make sure that I have everything ready to go, because I'm not going to be at home to do that on that day, on the 30th. So cast off date will be September 15th, just because it'll be easier for me to get things together, and I think it would benefit the winner a lot more if I actually had my ass in gear when that happened. So if you want any more information regarding the rules, anything like that, please join my group, and all of the info will be in the Casey Sweater 2016 chatter thread that I've already put up. So that being said, I'm having a really hard time coming up with a pattern. I previously talked about wanting to knit the Rosemount cardigan by Hannah Fettig, because that's the type of cardigan that I like to wear. The big, positive ease, just slouchy, just throw on over top of an outfit kind of a sweater. So I have been looking at it. I keep coming back to it over and over and over again. But the other day I actually sat down and read through all of the blog posts, all of the comments, forum posts kind of on the pattern page on Ravelry, and I'm a little scared. As you guys are probably aware, the campside shawl was a point of contention in my life. I think it was a turning point in my entire existence. I had a lot of problems with that pattern, and I had a lot of problems with the way it was written. Don't get me wrong, I love the finished object, but I was really struggling with the pattern and how it was laid out, and just the unease that I had with it, because it was way too long. Each side of a chart was on a separate page. It was a lot of moving back and forth while I was knitting, and some of it just didn't add up to me. So after going through all of the comments and all of the posts on the Rosemount cardigan, I am very aware that a lot of people did not enjoy knitting it, and that it didn't seem like a well-written pattern. I know that it has been updated since then, and it seems like most of the complaints about the pattern and the instructions were prior to the update. So I'm not sure if I'm confident in my ability as a knitter, and as someone who has been incredibly frustrated with nothing lately. It might not be a good idea for me. So if you've knit the new updated pattern, and I don't know, the Home and Away book that she's released with her version of the cardigan in that book is a seamed pattern. So I'm not sure if I really want to do the seamed one, or if I want to just do the top-down seamless version that's online. So if anybody has knit it, if you've seen the pattern, if you've seen the update, and you have advice for me, let me know, because there's a very large part of my heart that has itself set on this cardigan, and I'm just not sure if it's a good pattern to kind of just take off running with. So if you have any advice on that, let me know. My backup plan, I think, is to do the Antler cardigan by Tin Can Knits, because Tin Can Knits has a very good reputation for easy to understand patterns, easy to understand instructions, and just basically being beginner friendly. So I'm thinking of either doing the Antler cardigan or the Rosemount, but to be honest, the Antler cardigan seems like it would be more of a fitted, whereas I kind of want something like what I'm wearing here, where I just throw it on. So let me know your advice. I know that I want to use Cascade Ecological Wool, because it's price point. It's where I need to be right now with the price point. And it's also really well. I really enjoy Cascade Eco Wool. It'll be warm as hell, which is very nice for the winter. And it's affordable for me right now. I don't want to go crazy spending a lot of money on yarn. I've got other things that I want to do first. So I'm going to be using Cascade Eco Wool, either in a gray or in the pumpkin spice color. I haven't decided yet, but I do need a gray cardigan. I don't have one of those. That would be a good choice. But the pumpkin spice would be really wonderful for autumn. and it's a little bit more interesting to look at because there's just like, it's like brown with little bits of orange in it. So I'm a little stuck on making a decision, and it's the 17th and I need to get going on that. So yeah, let's just collectively breathe a sigh of relief that we are capable of making decisions, because sometimes I forget that I am. So yeah, that's gonna be the Knit City Sweater Cal. Once again, if you want to join, or if you want to, include yourself in the Cal, that's awesome. Just let me know so I can keep track of how many people are doing it, and I can put your info in the chatter thread so that people know how many other podcasters are doing it, and we'll just collectively push each other towards getting something done. So hooray, let's do that. Otherwise, this is mostly a crafting podcast, and I'm not talking about any of my crafts, so let's go into the knitting stuff. So, knitting. What a colossal disaster it has been. I have no finished objects, which shouldn't be surprising if you know me or you've talked to me at all in the last 2 weeks. I've been having a really hard time knitting. It's been frustratingly difficult to do. I think I'm putting a lot of pressure on myself to get things done and to knit stuff because of the podcast. And when it's not happening like I'd like it to, I put a lot more pressure on myself, because I'm like, okay, people don't watch your podcast to hear that you are not having a good time at knitting. So for me, I don't want to be like miserable and not getting things done, because it doesn't make for good TV. That's just the long and short of it. So I didn't podcast last week because I literally had nothing that I was interested in talking about. I've been working on a couple projects since then, so I have things to show that I'm working on, and things kind of seem to be a little bit better right now. I think just kind of remembering that you can't force yourself to do something if it's not working. I don't know if you can hear, but my cat's been meowing outside the door for the last 10 minutes, so if it's coming up on camera, I apologize. She's not coming in because she's bad. Maybe later. She can come in later. But yeah, I feel shame sometimes in frogging things, because it's just like a visual reminder of just like time that I think is wasted. And that's a really bad way to think of knitting, because like I've said previously, I've usually been very product based. I'm not process based. So if I'm not enjoying the process, even if that involves having to go back or restart something, it just makes me angsty and really miserable if I don't get that product out of it. So frogging to me is kind of like I've been feeling like it's like an admission of incompetence in some ways, and that's a really horrible way to think about it. So for me this week, allowing myself to just be like, you know what, this isn't fun, I hate it, I'm not having a good time, it's not worth me sitting here for 2 hours and working on this because it's just making me angry and I'm hating it, so why am I doing it? Just kind of reminding myself that my time is limited on this planet, and if I'm going to be swearing at yarn on a set of needles for a quarter of it, then why am I doing this? So giving myself that permission to frog this week has been really liberating. It's not a sign of failure, it's a sign of strength, because if you're going to slog along with it, then you're basically just pretending that everything's fine. And my entire life has been about not pretending everything's fine if things have been fine or not fine. So basically just like, screw it, I'm taking this off the needles. I'm not enjoying it, it's not fun. If I'm gonna wear it and think about how friggin' much I had to take back on this, or how I don't understand how the stitch counts, like I was knitting and it was fine and I kept counting, and then on the next row for some reason I had 2 extra here and 2, like, screw it. So they came off the needles, they're done. And I just want to show, because I haven't quite frogged them yet. So here's and it's the same pattern too, and I honestly love the pattern, it's wonderful, but for some reason my brain just can't handle it right now. So there's the Arrow-Mingo part 1. It's going to be really harsh because my light is hanging out right there, if you can see it in my glasses. And then Arrow Mango Part 2. So they're sitting here off the needles, still just hanging out because for some reason I still can't just rip it apart. So they'll sit there for a while, and then I'll put the yarn back and hopefully find something else that will fill my bucket instead of take things out of my bucket. And I'm not sure, it was part of our training because I work with an agency that serves children. You'd probably be really familiar with it, but I don't know if I want to name it right now just because the internet versus work life, I don't want to go there. But part of our training was to like read books, and we do safety training with children. And at one point we had a book called I'm a Bucket Filler or something like that. So basically the premise is you want to be a bucket filler, not a bucket taker. I don't even remember if that's the right words. But everyone has a happiness bucket or like a life bucket, and you want to add to it as a human being. You don't want to be that dick that just like ruins people's lives by stealing joy from their bucket. So this has been a bucket taker project, and I want a bucket filler. I want something that fills my heart, doesn't destroy it. So they can sit right now. They're frogged partially. So I've been using that phrase a lot lately, so that's kind of a little bit more of the backstory on why, if you've never heard of that before, it's just basically being like someone who makes other people happy instead of just cutting people down. So in terms of works that I am actually working on, I did start, this is like the slowest going project of all time, so it's probably going to be a single sock forever. But I learned how to do toe-up socks. I had this like impression that Judy's Magic Cast-On was some sort of weird mythical unicorn of a technique that would be really hard for me to learn. Spoiler alert, it's the easiest thing in the world, and I can't believe I didn't try it sooner. So I'm working on a toe-up sock. There's my toe. There's the sock part. And this is Kaleidoscope Dye Works yarn that I picked up from Allie in February in her Pixie Pout colorway. So I'm about like a third of the way up my foot right now. I cast on 72 stitches because I'm basically going with my Rose City Roller stitch count. So I'm using 72 stitches, which I'm regretting now because I think I was watching the Grocery Girls where they were talking about, I think Tracy was talking about you want negative ease in your sock, and I never have negative ease in my socks, so they like don't fit perfectly. But for me, just like messing around right now, they're really nice for house socks, but I'd like to start knitting something that actually fits in a shoe without rubbing or like giving me blisters. So I'm regretting using 72 stitches. I think the next time I do, and I might even do the next sock with 68 just to see, but I'm using a 2.75 millimeter needles, and they're the Addi sock rockets, and I gotta just beef out on these for a second. I really don't like the fact that the needle has two tapered parts. So you've got the first taper to get over the connection, and then you've got the second taper right here. I'm finding it really hard, and it just might be because I'm a tight knitter, I don't know. I'm finding it really hard moving my stitches on the needles, and I find that the cords are really rigid. So I ordered a set of Knit Pro Zings, and I'm not sure when I'll get them because I never know when I'm going to get stuff from overseas. So I'm really hoping that I like the Knit Pro Zings better for this, because otherwise I'm going to have to buy a lot of needles to try and find ones that I really like for Magic Loop. But the rigid cord and the tapers are making this a little frustrating for me. But at the same time, this is like a really mindless knit, so I bring it with me to work so that, you know, if I'm working on something and I'm like rewarding myself, I can knit a couple rows with this, no problem. And I'm really a big fan of how the colors are pooling. And just the colors in general. Like, Allie has been really helpful and awesome. I've dyed with her. I went over last weekend to dye with her, and you know, she won't talk about how she speckles, and that's rightfully like her thing because she's amazing at it. But like, I can't handle how good she is at speckling. It's just gorgeous. So I don't expect her to give me up her secrets, but I'm definitely gonna start experimenting with my own dyeing. So in terms of a pattern, there's there's the Afterthought heel toe up sock. It's just a free thing on Ravelry that I found that links you to a website where the pattern actually is. So I'm just kind of going off that. And I don't think I'll add a cuff because I hate cuff socks. So I think I'm just gonna like, maybe a mini cuff. Who knows? But I am just working on a sock that way. And then once again, this is my Fawn and the Fox Space Club bag. This is month 1. So yeah, that's fine. That's car knitting. My other project that I've been working on, and this goes into stash enhancement a little bit, but I don't have a lot of stash to talk about. This is the month 2 bag from Laura of Fawn and the Fox, and I love it. So this is a space bag part 2. I think it's super cool. I love the colors. The prints are awesome. So inside my bag here, I have a project that I've actually been working pretty like fast at. And I'm working on the Jocassee? I don't know how to pronounce things. But Kemper's new pattern, the Jocassee shawl. So I've kind of been working on that for the last couple days. So this is it. So if you can see, there's like, maybe I'll go away from the light, but there's drop stitch sections and then garter sections. So there are no purls in this pattern at all, which I kind of miss because I really like purling. I think it's a nice palette cleanser from the lace patterns that I usually do. So you've got like one side of lace and yarn overs and decreases, increases, whatever, and then on the back you're just purling. It's kind of like a mental reset for me. So I am working with Mad Tosh Twist Light in the Electric Rainbow colorway. And I was explaining this to my partner and he just kind of looked at me like I was crazy. But this is basically what I would picture like some sort of burnout hippie in the 70s. This is like the modern take on that because it's like classy, bright neons, but it feels really modern to me. So I'm about maybe 2/3 away through the pattern. It's a 1 skein sock yarn pattern, and it was a Dickie at my Crafternoon yesterday, and now it's getting bigger. So I'm hoping to be done that within the next couple days. I want to have enough of this for my blanket, so if I need to, I will do my last couple rows in just like a normal black sock weight, just to save yarn, because I really want a square out of this. So that's one of my works, the other one of my works in progress. And then my other last work in progress that I've got right now, and of course I'm not finished my square, so I do this every time I think, is just my blanket. I'm currently working on a square, and it's tangled. Okay, so since the last time I talked about it, I've only added 1 and like a half squares to it. I ripped out the pink square that I had showed. I was halfway through showing last time, but I ripped it out because it didn't look like it was the right size. I'm starting the second row and I'm like not sure if I'm doing it right, and everything kind of looks wrong to me. So I ripped out the pink one and I added this green one. I'm on the wrong side. Man. I added this green one, which is actually yarn that I dyed myself. So there's 1 square. And then I'm adding like a purpley color here. And that's another color that I've dyed myself as well. So I'm gonna start going up, and I'm enjoying this, kind of. I'm really OCD and a total perfectionist when it comes to things. So picking up stitches and knitting has been a little bit stressful for me because the squares aren't looking exactly the same. And that kind of thing is something that'll keep me up at night. So working through this, I'm just going to keep going with the row regardless of how it looks, because I think it's just probably a perspective thing that I'm expecting them. They don't look the right size, but once, like when I ripped that pink one out and I compared it, it was the exact same size as everything else. So I think it's just a perspective thing, and I'm just going to go through it. And then just force myself to continue, because I think it's fine. I think it's just me looking at it and being like, this isn't right. But, you know, whatever. One of the things that I've been finding a lot lately is that I'm panicking during my knits. The lights changed. Let me just... Oh no, I ruined it. One of the things that I'm finding is that because I feel so lacking in confidence with knitting, I'm hypercritical of everything that I'm doing. Oh no, I'm making it worse. So just a quick sidebar. I broke one of the really expensive light bulbs that I used to record. I used the Philips Hue just to like alter the light colors so that it looks clearer. I broke one of them today, and those are actually quite expensive, so I'm really dreading having to go out for groceries later, because that's mad cash that I have to spend on replacing a light bulb that I broke. So thumbs down to that. Anyways, with the panicking at the knitting thing, I'm finding that I'm really stressed out about everything. So I'm knitting in a very tense kind of way. I'm feeling really anxious about it, and I'm not taking the time to just understand what's happening. So I was talking about this yesterday at my crafternoon, where as a scuba diver, because I have my open water, I'm certified to scuba dive. The rules are, and sorry, it's allergy season. I know Candace from Pin Feathers and Pearls is feeling it too, and I just like, so I'm dealing with a sore throat today because my immune system is freaking out over pollen. Anyways, as a scuba diver, there's like rules that, like, number one, just keep breathing. That's like the most important rule in scuba diving. Don't hold your breath. But the other one is, if you're experiencing problems or anxieties, or you're not sure about something, there is a set rule where you stop, breathe, react. And I think for me, I need to implement that rule in every aspect of my entire life, especially with knitting right now. I have a tendency to go from, to ripping things out. And instead I need to be like, okay, I can fix that, instead of just like reacting first. So for the most part, I just kind of need to take a second and just breathe, and then evaluate where I'm at. You know, sometimes needles slip and a bunch of stitches come off, and you're just like, holy shit, holy shit, holy shit. And then if you stop, put them back on, like, it's fine. So for me, I've been really quick at reacting instead of just thinking about stuff first. So I would really like to start thinking about stuff first before I react. For example, I was counting stitches on my Joe Cassie shawl, and I think it was right after I did the wraps for the drop stitch row, and I was like, how do I have this many stitches? And like, if I would have just thought for a second, oh wait, I just wrapped my stitches for my drop stitch row, these aren't real stitches, then I would have like saved myself a moment of like absolute panic. So I think that's a good rule to have when doing anything in crafting. It's just like, stop, take a breath, then evaluate where you're at. Because I think for me, especially because I've had so many close calls or no fun moments where I've had to rip back or tink back or restart a project, that I automatically am assuming that something is irreparable and it's messed up to the point that I'm losing the entire project. And for the most part, that's not true. So just take a second, breathe, and then go for it. I have a donut. Let me grab the donut. Okay, So another thing that I've been doing instead of knitting is trying other crafts. If you're not aware, I love donuts. I love cake. Any yarn that has speckled parts that looks like cake, I'm all over. So I've had a list on my Pinterest for like crafternooning or like a craft queue of things that I've wanted to work on. And hand sewing and embroidery has been on my list for a while, so I finally tried something and made like my very own donut. And it's not perfect because it was my first attempt, of course. There could be more stuffing in a certain area, but it's still pretty stinking cute. So I've given this to the cats. I'm gonna marinate it in some catnip and then they can have fun. But I'd like to make some more. Part of me wants to make a garland for my desk at work, like a donut garland where it's just like 1, 2, 3, because why not? So this was really fun. I've learned how to do blanket stitch, and this is a pretty good project for like learning / practicing blanket stitch, because that's basically all it is. So made my little donut embroidery thing. I also want to use the tutorial from A Beautiful Mess where they have cat toys. So there's like tacos and cheeseburgers and little sushi rolls, and I think that'd be super cute. My cats really like playing with these things. I picked up a few. There was donuts and pizza slices at the Royal Bison Craft Fair here in Edmonton in December. There's a company called Kitty Yum Yum, and she's adorable, and her products are adorable. So I picked up some for the cats for Christmas, and they had little, I think they were stuffed with catnip and stuffies, but they had little bells and stuff in them too. So Stella and Lucy really like playing with those. Usually we'll find like all of them underneath the stove because they've been batting them around, and then they'll go under the drawer that we have for the stove. So I'd like to make a few more of these. It was really fun, it's really cute, and it's just different. So embroidery is definitely something that I would like to try a little bit more. Anyways, with that being said, I don't have any more projects on the go, but I do have a little bit of a stash enhancement to show. As you're aware, I'm on a yarn diet because of this. So I'm not buying a lot of yarn right now, and I've been good. I've been pretty good. So in terms of stash enhancement, the only things that I really have to show are my mini skeins that I ordered from Nikki Slip. She has an Etsy shop, and she's actually going to be in Edmonton at the end of the month, so I think we're going to hang out, which is cool. Meeting friends from the internet. But I ordered 10 of her mini skeins, and they came in the mail. And they actually were the most adorable package of all time. So, yeah, so like the front, and this is like sewn. So she used her machine, or like, yeah, she used a machine to sew it all together, but it's like a map. And I can't, oh, it's Penn Station, so yeah, you got some New York map going on here. But it all came in this bag, and she included some candies, and I haven't used this guy yet, but I'm assuming it's like instant coffee kind of thing. There was also candy in it, and some stickers, really cute little stickers. So I got a bunch of stuff from her, and I'm really excited. My cats are going crazy for the little pom-poms that she had in the little envelope. So I'll have to let them play with them. But I assume that my cats will eat everything, so maybe that's not a good idea. But in terms of the colors that I ordered, I'll show you some of the ones so that I can ball them up and put them in my blanket. There's this one. I love the little stripes of avocado in there. This one. This one. So I wanted some variety in terms of my colors, so I'm really excited because these are really, really, really gorgeous and so vivid. I love the neon in this one. This one was a favorite yesterday at my Crafternoon. It's really hard, the light is blowing everything out. And of course, because it looks like cake, my cake yarns. So I'm really excited to work with these minis. Yay. Oh, and I also found like a crumpled glass vase. So this has been where my minis have been living. And if I put them in there so that they're kind of like flowers, it's a little ridiculous. But so I've got a little mini container started. And also with the space bag that I got from Laura, she also includes a little mini skein as well. So this is the mini that I got from her. And we were trying to figure... Go away, light, for a second. We were trying to figure out what it was, and I'm pretty sure it's her Let's Stay Home colorway, which is awesome because I really want to get that at some point. And it's super high twist, so it looks like it's bigger than the fingering weight that I've been putting in my blanket, but it's really not, so it'll be fun to see how this knits up. And also, like I mentioned earlier, I hung out with Allie last weekend and a couple other lovely ladies from Calgary, and we had like a dyeing session, and this is what I came out with. So Allie is such a sweet lady. She knew that I was having a really, really hard time with my knitting and just like, just come over and we'll have some fun. So I went over and did some dyeing with her. Caitlin came as well, and the ladies from Calgary. And it was just a lovely afternoon of hanging out with other knitters and other lovely ladies that share the same interests that you do. And Allie hooked me up with her dyes and her base, and this is what I dyed myself. So the photo that I posted on Instagram, the colors were a bit blown out, but it's super pretty, and I'm not sure if you can kind of see, there's little specks of salmon pink. Oh my god, this light. There's little specks of salmon pink in the white part, so it's not completely white. So I don't know what to do with this. I'm really, really curious. I'm the worst at winding skeins, you guys. Like, the worst. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do with this. It's so pretty, but I don't know what it'll knit up with, or knit up like. So I'm not sure what I want to do with it, because it's super pretty. I really, really like it. And it'll be really fun to see how this knits up. So I want to stockinette something, but I don't want to put my feet in this because it's really pretty. So if you have any suggestions for things I should knit with this, let me know. Other than that, that's all of the knitting stuff and the craft stuff that I've been working on this week. So that's kind of pretty much it for me. I don't even have anything cool to talk about in my real life. Oh, okay, so like I mentioned, we had I had my April Crafternoon yesterday, and I had a few friends over, and I was going to be really awesome and make banana cake, and it had a cream cheese stuffing inside. So this thing, I posted a picture to Instagram, and I'll put the Instagram picture here so that you can kind of see what I was talking about. But I would like to point out that this cake was in the oven for an hour and a half. An hour and a half. The top was done. The top was done, and it looked done. The toothpick came out clear. Sorry, jeez. The toothpick came out clear. It was fine. I pulled it out, sat it down to cool, and then, like, when I came back 20 minutes later, it had completely collapsed. So when a cake collapses, as I've learned from many, many, many nights spent binge watching The Great British Bake Off, it's raw. It can't support itself because it's raw. So when I saw that it collapsed, I was like, maybe it'll be fine. So it was in one of those pans that you can push up the base and then it comes out. So I did that. It was holding itself fine. I flipped it onto a cooling rack, and then I was going to slide it from the cooling rack just onto a plate, and it slid. So the plate was here, the cake was here, and it went like this. And then when I tried to put it back on, it basically like fell completely apart. So I had a pile of cake, which the cooked parts tasted good. Like, I grabbed a piece and I was like, oh, this is actually really good. So I was like, what can I do? So I ended up nuking it in the microwave for 20 minutes on power 4 or something like that, because I didn't want it to get dry, which was then cooked, and I served this cake in bowls. So if I'm gonna fail at something right now, I'm gonna fail so spectacularly that it deserves bragging in its own right. So this cake was a massive fail. If you know who I am and how I was raised by my mom, who is like genius at everything, like she sewed all our Halloween costumes, she made all of our cakes, and they were like designer cakes growing up. It's not a point of pride when something I do falls apart. It's like grown into me that if it's not perfect, it's not worth it. So you know what? My pile of shawls that I have to frog, that was a spectacular fail. My delicious banana cake with cream cheese stuffing was a spectacular fail, but it was delicious. And we ate it at my crafternoon. I had more with my partner later, and there's another serving for later today. And you know what? It's a delicious failure. So if that doesn't inspire you to just fail and embrace it, I don't know what to tell you. But seriously, if Mary Berry and Paul Hollywood saw that cake, they would be like, what? So, in terms of my skills, I don't think I'm ready for Great British Bake Off yet, but it was a delicious cake and whatever, I don't care. So that being said, go forth and fail spectacularly. I've got nothing else to talk about this week. I'm going to be adding a couple threads up on Ravelry. So if you have any questions for me, if there's anything that you'd like to know, or if you just have any questions at all that you want to ask me, I'll put up an ask away thread. My inappropriate seasonal knits thread will go up, and hopefully this will be uploaded by the time I go to sleep tonight, because YouTube can be brutal when it comes to upload times. But yeah, hopefully that'll all be up by the time you watch this. So thank you for bearing with me last week when I just kind of needed to not be a part of the world for a bit. I'm not sure if I'll have a lot of time to knit this week, but hopefully I'll be podcasting about something this weekend. If not, you can hear about it on Instagram. So thank you so much for staying with me. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking my posts. Even that one person that thumbs down, keep doing what you're doing. We're all just living life, and go forth, fail spectacularly. Just live, whatever. If you don't have to focus on being perfect, then you can focus on being good. Doesn't matter. So I'll be back later. Thanks for watching, and bye. I am actually good, can feel